Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Saturday, everybody. I hope your day and your weekend are going very well so far. The college football regular season has officially concluded. That's right, guys. The college football regular season, the conference championship games, those are now officially all in the rearview mirror. We now move on to bowl season, college football playoff season. There's still so much fun to be had in this year's college football season. And this weekend sort of serves as the calm before the storm for the college football postseason. There's not too much going on, but we have one very pivotal game, and that is the Army-Navy game. So if you guys couldn't tell by the thumbnail or the title of this video will focus solely on the Army-Navy game. I know there's another smaller bowl game on today. I think Western Michigan's playing in it. I'm not going to focus on that one. Instead, I'm choosing to focus on one of the most coveted games in college football history, the Army-Navy game. And this year's Army-Navy matchup poses to be a pretty fun one. This is obviously a rivalry that spans over 100 years, over 100 meetings, well over 100 meetings between these two programs. And like I said, this year, guys, it feels a little different than normal. Now, normally these Army-Navy games, and I'm sure this one will still not stray too far away from the script. Usually they're very run-heavy games, as both these teams are typically run-heavy teams. It's a lot of runs, a lot of triple options, a lot of play-action passes. If there are passes, they are play-action passes. It's a run-heavy scheme on both sides. It's a real old-school style of football that has kind of died in the modern age, where you have mostly passing. Army-Navy keeps the traditions of the past very well present. But like I said, guys, this year's matchup is a little bit different because they actually do have, these are probably the most potent offenses these two programs have had in quite some time. And for me, that means that this could be the most exciting Army-Navy game we've had in well over a decade. Not wasting any time, guys, but you're going to go ahead and jump right into the outlier screen. And my first pick of 4 picks for this Army-Navy game, we're going with Army on the spread here, -5.5. We're getting this from -120 on FanDuel. It is also available on DraftKings, BetMGM, and Bet365. As always, guys, please make sure to go ahead and shop around for the best sportsbook odds available. So we're going Army -5.5. Army has had a very, very, very impressive season. They're just coming off an impressive AAC Championship Conference win against Tulane. This team won an AAC Championship where they were 5-point underdogs against Tulane. Really impressive stuff from the Black Knights. They're 11-1. They're a true top 25 ranked team in the country. Their only loss, and really their only blemish on the season, was against my Notre Dame Fighting Irish back on November 23rd. They did get blown out pretty aggressively by Notre Dame. To be totally fair, though, unless you're Northern Illinois, you've been beaten by Notre Dame all year long. But besides that Notre Dame game, Army has been fantastic. They've won every other game, and they've covered the spread of -5.5 in every game except for the Notre Dame game and the UTSA game. That's an 83% hit rate for Army on the spread of -5.5, 67% hit rate against the spread overall. So they've actually been a pretty profitable team from a spread perspective. Now, looking at Navy, Navy had a very strong start to the season. They were a top 25 ranked team going into their matchup with Notre Dame, which kind of ended up almost the exact same. Army lost 49-14. Navy lost 51-14. But I mean, look at Navy going into that Notre Dame game. They had covered the spread of +5.5 in every game going into that, and they've covered the spread in almost every game minus their week 1 game. They had been on a pretty good coverage streak, 5 consecutive covers going into that Notre Dame game. And then the Notre Dame game happens, and their season kind of falls apart. They get crushed by Notre Dame. They follow it up by losing on the road to Rice. They do bounce back a little bit versus USF, but then they get blown out massively against Tulane, and then they obviously finish the year off strong with a nice win against East Carolina. 8-3 overall. It's not a bad season from Navy, but they definitely fell off after what was a very impressive and strong start. The last month or so of the year for Navy did not go according to plan. These teams play a very similar play style. Like I said, very run-heavy, a lot of triple option, a lot of play-action passing. But honestly, I do like Army in the matchup. I think they're just genuinely the better team overall. Just look at the record versus common opponents. Now, obviously, Army, they had a better season than Navy, 11-1 versus 8-3. I mean, just take the AAC Championship game, for example. Army crushed Tulane in the AAC Championship game, 35-14. Navy versus Tulane, the same opponent, 35-0. Now, they both had basically the same result versus Notre Dame. But if you look across the board, Army played a lot of the same teams and had much better success in some of those key areas. Where Navy lost to Rice, Army killed Rice. Look at the matchup stats on the right side of the screen here. Army's defense is legitimate. Now, let's not say like these guys have the toughest schedule in the world. Army tied for 105th in strength of schedule. Navy a little bit tougher, actually tied for 78th. But Army, top 10 scoring defense in college football, giving up just 15 points per game. They're pretty effective, 11th against the run, 34th against the pass. Obviously, passing does not matter too much in this one for Navy. They're 132nd in passing yards. But across the board, Army is a really solid defensive team and should match up well and create enough stops to at least get the cover on the spread. On the flip side here, Army's offense, we know it's pretty solid, 32nd overall in scoring. The number 1 rushing offense in college football. It'll be very interesting to see because Navy's defense was actually 85th against the run. However, These two, and it's a rivalry game. These two teams have a pretty good idea of how they operate. So yeah, I think Army should go ahead and take care of business pretty easily. I think this game reads to me like 35-24, 35-28 Army. As a matter of fact, the last time these two teams played last year on December 9th, Army beat Navy on the road. Now, obviously, this is playing on a neutral site, but Army did beat Navy as the away team, 17-11. They covered the spread, and also the insights provided by Outlier. The Black Knights are 10-4, 71.4% hit rate against the spread in their last 4 games. Now, Army also 134th in passing yards. Not like they're a crazy good passing team, but this is the best rushing offense in college football, and their quarterback, Daniels, has been really impressive. Not Daniels, Daly. Apologies for that. Bryson Daly's been pretty impressive. He's actually 123 passing yards away from getting the second quarterback in Army history to have 1,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards. He's been running the ball like crazy. He's kind of transformed this Army offense into a juggernaut. So yeah, I just love Army in this spot. Navy, great season for the Navy team, but I just think ultimately at the end of the day, I do think the Army is the way better opponent. They're a much better team. They've beaten a lot of teams where Navy struggled, like Rice and Tulane. Army crushed those teams. I like Army here -5.5. And my second pick, guys, in this game, I'm going with the over 39.5. Like I mentioned, guys, these offenses are really dynamic, the most dynamic they've probably been in the last 10 years of these meetings. And look at the over, I mean, the data shows, the over of 39.5 has cashed in 73% of Navy's games this year, and in Army's games, a 75% hit rate on this over. Now, the last time these two teams played last season was just 17-11, so obviously, now it did push what that total was. But that should go ahead and tell you what kind of matchup we have here, because last year the line was set at 28. This year the line set at 39.5. So Vegas is telling you these offenses are going to score more points than they normally do in these meetings. I think Army will shoulder most of the load here in the scoring department, but Navy will be able to score a couple touchdowns at least. I like the over 39.5. I think, like I said, I see this being like a 35-24 game. Maybe I'm overestimating the scoring, but either way, I think no matter what, I think Army wins this game by at least 7 points, if not more. And I do think they're going to score at least in the ballpark. They're going to score at least 3 or 4 touchdowns in this game. I think even 28-21 is very realistic. So I like the over here at 39.5. I think Army's rushing attack is going to be interesting how Navy will defend against it. But this is the best rushing attack in college football. Navy just 85th in rushing yards, 85th. So in rushing yards, 159.8 rushing yards per game. Not very good. Army has some clear advantage. But like I said, it's not like Navy's not going to score. They have a top 10 rushing attack as well. They should be able to score a little bit against a pretty stout Army defense. And wrapping things up, guys, I have 2 player props to also go ahead and share with you guys in this game. My first one being Bryson Daly, over 202.5 pass plus rushing yards. We're getting that from -114 on FanDuel. He's cashed it in 55% of his games this year. 6 out of 11 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 214.27 passing plus rushing yards per game this year. Over the last 10 games, a 60% hit rate. 6 of his last 10 games, the average goes a little bit higher to 224.4. Overall, pretty good numbers. The last 4 games, you see a couple more misses, but their schedule's also gotten tougher with Notre Dame, with Tulane. But he's had some pretty big performances. Like I mentioned earlier, he's 123 passing yards away from becoming the second quarterback in Army history to have 1,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards in a season. So don't be surprised if Army tries to air it out with the play action pass a little bit more often. If he gets at least 100 yards passing this game, he should cash the over, because I do think he's such a dynamic runner. He should get 100 rushing yards in this game as well. So the big thing is here, how many passing yards he's going to get. Again, I know that being 123 yards behind that record, I think he wants to get it pretty badly. I think Army wants him to get it. So don't be surprised if you see Army throwing the football a little bit more than they normally would to try and get Bryson Daly to 1,000 yards. And my fourth and final pick, I had to go ahead and give you guys a touchdown prop. By the way, before I share this pick, we're about to hit the 9-minute mark in today's video. If you guys watched through the entire video, comment 9 down below. As always, guys, we appreciate those who watched through the entire thing. We put a lot of work into these videos, so it really does mean a lot to those who watch through. They don't just skip for the picks or click the link right away for the plays. They actually watch through the analysis, watch through the reasoning behind the picks. So appreciate those. Comment 9 down below if you're still watching. And yeah, had to give you guys a touchdown player prop to close the video. So we're going Kanye Udo of Army over, or any type touchdown, I should say, over half a touchdown. All means the same thing. We're getting that for +155 on FanDuel. It is available, of course, on multiple sportsbooks, but it looks like the best odds we're getting are from FanDuel, +155. The data's solid. He's cashed this anytime touchdown prop in 58% of his games this year for Army, 7 out of 12 games, averaging 0.83 touchdowns per game. Again, this Army defense, number one rushing offense, number one rushing offense versus the 85th rushing defense. Now, Navy does have advantages in stopping the outside run and whatnot, but I do think that Army will have their success on the ground. Yes, I know Bryson Daly will do a lot of the scoring, but I do think Kanye Udo is due for a touchdown in this spot. Like I said, good numbers overall this year. Over the last 10 games, just a 50% hit rate, but still overall pretty solid. So we'll go ahead and rock with Kanye Udo here. It's the best value, in my opinion, for a touchdown player prop in this game. Anytime touchdown, plus 155. All right, guys, those are all my picks for today's Army-Navy game. Make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. Enjoy the game, guys. I know it's not maybe the most high-flying of all-time games, but it's a really fun rivalry, really fun matchup. I'm very much looking forward to watching the Army-Navy game. Salute to service. Thank you to all those who serve our military. Appreciate all of you. Of course. Now, as for the rest of the college football season, I'm going to be honest, guys, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Obviously, we're going to get a ton of videos for bowl season, for playoff season. I'm just trying to figure out how to go about doing that. I might do more videos like these individual videos for individual college football playoff games. I might do a weekly video and just say, hey, this is all my picks for the week. I haven't really decided yet how I'm going to go about doing it. Obviously, I'm running out of time to decide. But, you know, it's obviously a weird schedule. You have bowl games, and then they're mixed in with the playoff games. And so I don't know. We'll see. Definitely as we get into like the Final Four, I'll do an individual video for each of those playoff games. But right now, as we're into the first round of the college football playoff, trying to figure out, do I do individual videos for each playoff game? Do I do just a full slate video? We'll figure it out. Obviously, you guys will see posted here on the channel. But thank you very much, as always, for watching. I'll be back some point this week with another college football picks video. But until then, guys, hope you're all winners. Enjoy the Army-Navy game. Let's go, Army.